Oh, I was the one who experienced racism. While everyone of every race holds prejudice and can discriminate against someone of another race, in the U.S. and other white settler nations, only white people are in the position to oppress people of color collectively and throughout the whole of society. This claim defines racism as a fluid dynamic that changes direction according to each group's ratio in a given space. While a white person may have been picked on, even mercilessly, by being in the numerical minority in a specific context, the individual was experiencing race prejudice and discrimination, not racism. This distinction is not meant to minimize the white person's experience, but aims to clarify and to prevent rendering the terms interchangeable, and thus meaningless. Moreover, the society at large is still reinforcing white supremacy, and everyone in the school was affected by it. It is likely that the white students at such a school were treated better by teachers, and that higher expectations were held for them. Their textbooks, the curriculum, and the administration still reinforced a preference for whiteness. Outside the school, and in many aspects within it, these students were still granted white privilege as they moved through society. For most whites, being the minority in their school or neighborhood is usually temporary. They are probably no longer the minority in their environment, as upward mobility generally entails moving away from integrated spaces, or those in which people of color are the majority. My parents were not racist, and they taught me not to be racist. Whether you define racism as racial prejudices and individual acts, or as a system of racial inequality that benefits whites at the expense of people of color, as anti-racists do, your parents could not have taught you not to be racist, and your parents could not have been free of racism themselves. A racism-free upbringing is not possible, because racism is a social system embedded in the culture and its institutions. We are born into this system and have no say in whether we will be affected by it. I understand that many parents tell their children to not be racist, but the practice of our lives is more powerful than the words we say, and living a segregated life is a powerful message of practice. Of course, there are degrees, and it is certainly more constructive to be told that racism is wrong rather than right, but that is still not enough to completely inoculate us from the culture at large. Let's imagine that what the person really meant was this: my parents were not racially prejudiced, and they taught me not to be racially prejudiced. This statement would still be false because it is not humanly possible to be free of prejudice. This statement simply indicates that the person is uneducated about the socialization process and the inescapable dynamics of human culture. A person's parents might have said that they were not prejudiced, and thus denied their prejudice. They may have told their children that they should not be prejudiced, the result being that, like their parents, the children deny their prejudice. The parents may have sincerely hoped and believed that they were raising their children to not be prejudiced. But we can't teach humans to have no prejudice at all. The human brain just does not work that way, as we process information about others. Most of us only teach our children not to admit to prejudice. A parent training a child not to say certain things that are overtly racist is teaching the child self-censorship rather than how to examine the deeply embedded racial messages we all absorb. Ideally, we would teach our children how to recognize and challenge prejudice rather than deny it. Children today are so much more open. As for the claim that children are so much more open, research over the past 2 decades indicates that children are vastly more sophisticated in their awareness of racial hierarchies than most people believe. Even when race is not explicitly discussed, children internalize both implicit and explicit messages about it from their environment. For example, psychology researchers Maria Monteiro, Delilah DeFranca, and Ricardo Rodriguez tested 283 white children aged 6 to 7 and 9 to 10 years old. The children were asked to allocate money to white and black children, sometimes with a white adult in the room and sometimes with no adult in the room, to see if having an adult present influenced their behavior. The researchers found that the younger group discriminated against black children in both conditions, while the older group discriminated against the black children only when no adult was present. This finding is significant because it shows that the older children clearly had racial prejudice and acted on it, but hid it when a white adult was present. Thus, the children showed that they did not become less racially biased with age, but that they had learned to hide their racism in front of adults.